Absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam. Talking about topics and stuff. Absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam podcast. Who? What? Where? Why?
SETTSURF Ethical Skincare. SETTSURF uses only the finest organic minerals and ingredients, taking an ethical approach to protecting the planet as well as your skin. You take care of the good times, while SETTSURF takes care of your skin. Are you off to the beach this summer? Well, why not get your hands on some SPF 30 or 50 SETTSURF Suncream to keep your body protected? Absolute Bedlam podcast, proud to be sponsored by SETTSURF Skincare. Good evening and welcome to another edition of Absolute Bedlam podcast. First things first, if you are watching this on YouTube, you'll notice that I'm not the only twat today wearing a hat. That was worth the joke, wasn't it? Fuck the monarchy. Anyway, right, so tonight on the show, all views, by the way, are represented by myself and not Mike from InME. However, that being said, Mike, how's it going and how can you remember school life?
Not particularly fondly, in some respects.
Yeah.
No, in a lot of respects, so I have a really good little friendship clique that I still have to this day from school. So that was pretty good. And most of my music and everything came from the final couple of years of secondary school. So a couple of really good, just a couple of really good teachers that were very, God, what's the word I'm searching for? It's all the nerves, you see, coming on the.
Sorry.
Coming on
Just like understanding and
yeah,
accommodating.
just understanding. Just really just wanted to push us to actually do something because most people in the school weren't really. I don't know. Didn't really. There wasn't any sort of creative outlet anywhere else. And so we got a chance to do that, and so the nice memories of school mainly revolve around music and stuff. Yeah, nice. And set me up for a good few years of playing music, which was good.
Yeah. If you can remember your report card in like a single sentence, can you remember what it said? So mine was like, Ben's quite good at quite a lot of things, but he doesn't really apply himself in a certain field.
I can't even remember if we had report cards. I think they'd sort of given up on those. I went to quite a bad school. The secondary school was quite a bad one.
Yeah.
I had to change names about 3 times and eventually just got closed down. But yeah. I think my report card would have been quite boring, to be honest. It would have been a case of, he's all right. Yeah. Could apply himself a bit more. Could be a bit better at this.
Yeah.
But nothing interesting on there, I'm afraid.
No worries. So, naughtiest thing that you can remember doing at school. I'm happy to read mine out if you want like an example of it. So, I've probably read this out a couple of times now, so I do apologise. If you are listening to this and you're a loyal fan, which most people seem to be, skip like 40 seconds, guys. Just do it. Pull over in your car, press 15 seconds 3 times, and we'll be on mic, alright? So, I was quite a sensible child at school. I was very sort of true north, very unable to be peer pressured. However, one afternoon it was raining really, really badly in school time, and we were told to not go outside into the playground and to just have lunchtime in the classroom. So, inevitably, when you put a shitload of kids in a room, they all start playing up and acting out and start throwing shit. So we had a rubber war, which if you are listening to this from the US, it's an eraser. It's not a condom, all right? It's not quite that school. And essentially, we all just started flinging rubbers at people, and it was like a food fight, basically. And the teacher walked into the room as I plucked up the courage to throw my only rubber, and it twatted her straight in the face.
Nice. What happened to you after that?
I got detention, and I realised very quickly that if I want to straighten up and fly right, then I would have to sort of carve my own path and not bow to the popularity contest that is school. So I didn't enjoy that, so I stuck to my guns and decided to be a good boy again. But I had a good time, you know. it was fun at the time.
Yeah. I don't think I can really match that, I'm afraid. We used to use banter. We had a good banter game between a few of us, and we used to use like the tech that we had at hand to just take the piss and mock each other. A couple of times that got out of hand, can't take the joke. Nah, it was all fine. I don't think anything really bad came from anything I did, I'm afraid. I kind of just sat in the background wearing my Metallica t-shirts and rocking out to 90s grunge.
Nice.
And just kept my head down, tried to get on with it as much as possible to avoid all the dickheads and whatnot that were there.
Yeah. Yeah, school was a weird one, but we all got through it together. But yeah, some days it just felt like I said earlier, like a popularity contest, and it just wasn't really for me. And there was always these like sort of fields of people where there was a goth group, an emo group, and a sports group, and a popular kids that don't have to worry about getting a date to go to prom. And I kind of meandered around all of the groups, and I never really pledged allegiance to anyone in particular specifically. So
we have a lot of like specific groups like that, especially emo and stuff was sort of after I was at school when it became really big, I would say. The groups were you were just mainly dickheads. I just remember everyone as either I was friends with or they were dickhead, but maybe I was the dickhead. Yeah, that's probably more likely. I don't know.
We'll get off school in a sec, but can you remember having a porter cabin in school that literally just stayed there until the end of time, and it was meant to be like a temporary thing?
We didn't, I don't think.
No?
No. They sort of built extra parts onto the school.
Yeah.
But not the porter cabin. I've heard of the porter cabin thing before.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I've definitely seen it before and in other schools. But personally, I didn't get to I don't know, experience that.
Experience the very strange container of education.
Yeah.
There we go. Right. So real questions. First one. What on earth is a ziggurat?
That old chestnut. It's sort of like a big building, big structure, especially like in ancient history and stuff, like a really big I think it was like quite big in Mesopotamia and stuff, like I would say anything that's large and fucking awesome to me is a ziggurat. So pyramids and even big, just generic structures to me are ziggurats. I just love sort of like any sort of kind of massive architecture, especially stuff that we kind of look at today and go, that's a bit weird, isn't it? And like the kind of concrete structures that have gone out of fashion and stuff a bit now,
Yeah.
But I take it are we going to where I got the name from? Are we leading down that path? Or?
Yeah. So I thought it was an animal. To me, it sounds like a rodent. I've got a fucking ziggurat in the house again. So what's the origin behind it? Because obviously a lot of your projects include that name, and it's kind of a part of your identity as a sort of pseudonym, isn't it?
Yeah, just a tad. The boring answer is I was reading a review for an anime that came out a few years ago called Metropolis. I think it was more of a sort of American sort of take on animation, and basically in the review it said it was talking about part of the story, obviously. And it just said, and the rise of the ziggurat. And I thought, yes, I'm having that. That is cool.
Love that.
And then I've applied that to many, many things over the past 15 or so years.
Fantastic. So, location-wise, have you always lived near Brighton? And is that kind of what your podcast was about? You were talking about the Brighton sort of music scene.
Yeah, I've always lived in Brighton. I'd like to have lived somewhere else at some point. But, Brighton's pretty cool. It's got everything I sort of have needed here. It would be nice to go and visit some other places. Not that I haven't visited anyway. It would be nice to live other places as well, but it's just not happened at the moment. As far as the podcast, that's about the Brighton music scene of the 2000s primarily. It does focus on a few other things as well, but it's mainly of the Brighton scene of the 2000s. The kind of scene that I and my friends all started playing music and going out to gigs and playing, just going to venues and our first sort of bands. all that sort of thing. And there's so much music that came out. There's always so much music coming out, but there's so much music came out in that time by local bands that just gets forgotten. You know, people move on or the band dissipates or whatever. But they've made some really, really good stuff. So I thought it'd be quite nice to try and remember some of those bands and some of those songs and put it on a podcast that about 3 people listen to. So that's good. But it was good for me. I mainly started it because I was fucking stressed at the time and I needed a project to focus on. And so I started that up, and it's been quite fun. But I haven't done one for a while.
That's a cool idea because I find music scenes are quite sort of siloed. Where like I'm from Weymouth, and we've had tons and tons of bands start and end here. Just as an example, there was one called Fatal 4-Way, and they were like a pop punk 4-piece. And no one would really know who they were other than people that lived in Weymouth and went to their shows. And it's quite cool to see like how at any level a band can struggle if they don't feel that they have the correct momentum behind them. So it's cool to sort of showcase it and tell the story of it, and I've really enjoyed it so far. So have you got any plans to get it back on the tracks, or are you just absolutely flat out with life at the moment?
I've started about 10 episodes over the past year or so, mainly those sorts of episodes, but I just, every time I start writing, and then like a week go by, and then half of what I've written is like not relevant anymore. If I was talking about something that I was going to do, or you know, I was trying to incorporate an InME thing, like, oh, you know, this whole spiel about going to play Takedown or whatever, but we've gone past that now. It's irrelevant or whatever I wrote, you know. So I really just need to focus on an episode. I've got bands lined up. I've even got a couple of interviews. I got an interview I did with Dave and Gaz here the other day.
Hell yeah.
So I've got stuff to go into 2 episodes, but just getting the time to put it all together and follow it through to the end result, that's something I'm kind of struggled with, but it's only because I've got other things going on. So
cool. Of course. So bass, early life, when can you remember starting to play bass, and what sort of made you gravitate towards that instrument specifically?
To be honest, I don't gravitate towards that instrument specifically. That's just the instrument that I play in InME. I've always played bass and guitar. Pretty much alongside each other. In bands, I was mainly playing guitars, unless I used to help out quite a lot of bands as well. I kind of got a bit of a reputation, so like if someone needed someone to kind of play a gig in 3 days because someone's dropped out, I could quite often do that when I had more time on my hands, put it that way. But yeah, no, bass I remember playing a lot in college. I think because there were so many guitarists in college, that's when I started to think, well, if I gravitate more towards sort of bass in that respect, and I just enjoyed it a lot more, and I enjoy it more than the guitar now as well. I just sort of really like having a thunderous low end and popping up the band with it. It's great.
In terms of Overgrown Eden, learning that back to front to play Takedown and various other shows that you've got planned later on in the year, I struggled with some songs when I got really, really into InME quite early on. I've learned like Natural. I learned that on guitar. That was probably one of the first songs I ever learned on guitar. But some of the songs, I think Her Mask, it's got a bit in it. This is really bass heavy, guys. If you're not interested in bass, this is not the fucking episode for you. I'm sorry, right? You've got like the E string and the A string, and it's like on the 10th fret, and then you do the D string, and it's on the 12th fret, and it's like do 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 do. If you know what I mean, that bit.
Yeah.
And quite a lot of it is quite complex, and fair play to you for learning it as quick as you did. Or I don't know if that is the case, or if you already kind of had it in the back pocket, as it were. But stuff like Mosaic, it's quite fast paced and stuff. You know.
Absolutely love playing the faster, upbeat stuff. Mosaic.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant way to end the gig. That was awesome.
Yeah. So how did you find that experience of playing it at Takedown? And obviously you're playing some more shows later on down the line with just playing Overgrown Eden. Are you looking forward to those?
I am. Yes. Can't come soon enough, really. Takedown was great. It was good playing the album because it's not like, however controversial, it's not my favourite InME album.
Yeah.
It's good, and I really enjoy playing some of the songs in that. But yeah, for ending it with Mosaic was class. And it's good to kind of get Underdose. Start with that as well because it's such a banger, and to see everyone just instantly react and not have to sort of save it as an encore or anything, that was really cool as well. Really enjoyed just playing. Her Mask was a good one. Oh god, what was it? There was one others that I really enjoyed, and I just turned around to our our guy Pete, who was standing in for Tom playing drums, and I just kind of like nodded at him, and it was just that one of those moments that just all clicked, and it was just like, it's great. And then before you know it, the gig's over, and we got to get everything off stage.
Yeah. I actually recorded 2 of your songs whilst screaming my fucking heart out, as you probably noticed from the stage. I'll just quickly grab them because they're on my personal YouTube rather than the ABP YouTube. But I think it was Energy, which you guys don't play very often.
No, I think that would have been a set for a long time.
And Trenches. Fucking hell, Trenches has got 113 views. Jesus.
Just me and the lads.
Just pressing F5. How would you play that bit again? Yeah. Love it.
No,
but
we
yeah,
watch the stuff quite a lot, especially I think Dave and I, we go back and watch quite a lot of the YouTube videos and stuff because we enjoy, what we do, so it's nice to be able to see that. Especially if you haven't really, sometimes you don't quite take in what's going on at the time, so to be able to reflect afterwards, it's quite nice.
It's good to see a whole album all the way through as well, because I know that that's a thing now where, bands have done something for 20 years and they want to sort of have a bit of a breather and a self-reflection moment. And there was a lot of people there. They all wanted to sort of experience it, as a whole thing, sort of chapter to chapter, as it were. And it was good fun to see you as always. So
nice reception we got for that. It was good.
Good. So in terms of InME, how long were you a fan of InME before joining?
I was a fan from about... Put it this way, when did Gaz join? I wasn't as... To be honest, I wasn't actually as aware of the band as I should have been before Gaz joined. I had supported Dave a couple of times with Gaz, I think. Because I think there was a few shows before, obviously, he joined the band. And then when Gaz joined, I sort of like, I better pay some attention to this InME band, see what they're all about, and then got absolutely obsessed, and that was it. But because I got in around, I guess that was around sort of Herald Moth, just before the Best Of maybe came out.
Yeah.
So when the Best Of came out, and then it had Saka in Arcadia, Bury Me Deep on there, that just blew my mind, and I was totally obsessed after that. Saka in Arcadia is one I want to get back in the set if I can. Yeah. Definitely.
That outro at the end is so ridiculously savage. It's got such a good little bend at the start as well. Dave, I think he might have uploaded a YouTube cover, like of him just playing guitar to it. No singing or anything like that. But it's just a absolute sensory overload, that song. And quite a lot of people don't know that song exists unless they have bought Phoenix or they've streamed it on Spotify and stuff, because it's kind of hidden in that album, isn't it?
I know, and it's a shame. Like one of the sort of best songs, of the career, really. Is sort of hidden away. Both of the new songs they did for that album, just sort of hidden away on there. If you don't know that album, you don't know it. But this, like with many bands, how many bands do you, even with us, people will know the first album, and some people are like, oh, they're still going. Well, there's been lots of great albums since then. But it's a case of trying to get people aware again and trying to get new fans in as well, because there's just so much music out there, and there's so many different ways of trying to get your music out to fans now as well.
There's a bit in Phoenix as well. I don't know if it's Underdosed or Crushed by Fruit, but there's a bit at the start of one of those songs where there's like a little spaceship noise, and it's only in the Phoenix version of that, like, because they all got remastered or re-recorded, I imagine, for the quality to stay as good as production is nowadays and that sort of stuff. I'm gonna have to find that out and let you know what it is.
I'm sitting next to a box with about 700 of them, so I can have a look myself later.
Fantastic.
I've still got all the merch next to me from Takedown that I was supposed to take round to the storage. When I took, some of it's gone round there, and some of it is still here. So I've got to do that at some point, but that's another thing on the list of things to do.
One bit of constructive criticism, if anyone from the Takedown events crew is listening to this, is the merch hallway was not good planning. Because what happened essentially in like the main part of the guild hall, that was like the main corridor to and from the stages, and there was just a shitload of bands and artists and fans all trying to buy merch at the same time. So there were some people there talking to the people, buying the t-shirts, buying all sorts of stuff, like, stickers and stuff. And there were also people that wanted to get to the stage. So there was this huge, crush that you would expect to see at a sort of, you know, arena show. And but yeah, it wasn't the end of the world. You know, we all managed. We all just said, "Excuse me, pardon me, sorry." As we
I've got to hand it to the people behind Takedown. Like the way it was, aside from maybe that little bit, the way it was organised in general was really, really good. Like the stage out the side, and then all the food down the other side, and that different things going on in different areas and stuff. That was cool. I'd like to definitely go back as a punter this year. Next year. Because apparently it's 2 days as well. So.
Oh right, okay.
Exciting. Got to see some good bands. Well, I didn't get to see as many as I would have liked to have done. But still, I mean, when we got to see Sleep Token, that's what I was sort of looking forward to. A bit of Skindred and that, and a few bands. A couple of the bands after we played, I didn't get to see much beforehand, unfortunately. Too busy running around and
Did you watch Sleep Token from the balcony like John and Dave?
No, I was down. I was down with everyone else. Because I had like some other friends there, and my wife was there as well. So I know actually she went out to watch Skindred. Yeah, so she wasn't there, but there was a few of us down in the main auditorium, so we were having quite a good time. So I wasn't quite sold on them. I'd heard some stuff that I liked, and I heard some stuff that I didn't really like, but just the live experience in general was good. I'd definitely watch them again.
Yeah, I'd advise anyone that's like a bit umming and ahhing about Sleep Token to go and watch them, because I just love how like simple their stage setup is, and they've got some plants on the stage, and they literally just show up. You have no fucking idea what songs they're going to play. They just show up, they play their songs, they flawlessly manage to sort of intertwine the songs together, and then they leave. And that's it. No talking, no patter between the songs, no sort of... There's sometimes like the bassist and the guitarist start clapping, and obviously the crowd reacts, you know, and they start clapping in return. But just the whole sort of hooded, anonymous sort of darkness to them, I'm all about it. So
that is so cool. Yeah, have you seen them a lot then?
I've seen them twice now.
Yeah, cool.
So I saw them at London Hammersmith Apollo as their own show, and then I saw them at Takedown. Cool. And I briefly bumped into Jamie Lenman just before watching them, which was quite cool because he's quite a unique figure, isn't he? Standing in the crowd with his suit and top hat, and can't miss him really.
I've seen him, but I think he clashed with us, which is why we were sharing a dressing room with him, so I got to meet him, which was nice because he's a lovely guy. And his crew were really cool.
Yeah, there's some pictures of him playing to a Sepultura backdrop, because Jamie Lenman, basically. That's all you need to say, really, isn't it?
Why not?
Final question. We've got a 5-minute break after this, and then we're going to join another Zoom meeting. So final question just for this half is, do you remember having to audition for InME? How did that process go?
Yeah, I do remember. I was very, very sweaty. It was just... I don't think I was as nervous as I thought I was going to be. Because, I remember why now, because it wasn't an audition. They sort of said, we've got... Because at one point we had Why Not Festival coming up. I think this must have been around pandemic times. So we were booked for Why Not Festival. That didn't happen because of pandemic. And they said, just look, if you want to learn a few of the songs, come and play this particular festival, if it works out. And so I think I just went along for my first rehearsal with them, and they just said, do you want to be in InME? I was like, oh yeah, all right, why not?
Mental.
That's quite a nice way of doing it.
Yeah, I've always found auditionings to be a bit of a pressure cooker situation, even if you know the musicians sort of internally and outside of the band. And
I haven't really done that before, not because I'm super good, but because I haven't really gone to join anything else. So I usually try to start my own projects and things, and they're usually with the same like 3 or 4 people. So it was quite good to do, but it was quite nice to not have that complete pressure of this is your audition, this is make or break.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah. Don't call us, we'll call you, and all that rubbish. Yeah, awesome. We've got about 3 minutes left, so favourite 3 InME songs. I know that's a hell of an ask, and I know that could change, especially if you start sort of writing with InME, then that might aggressively change overnight. But have you got 3?
So I can't say any new ones, can I? No, not yet. I can't really talk about that yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, the 3 do change all the time. It was Saccharine Arcada for a long time. At the moment, currently, I do enjoy playing Her Mask a lot, so I'm going to put that on there.
Yep.
And I'm also going to put Bonsai Forest was a really good fun one to play on the tour. Not the most complex of songs, but just a good kind of energy to it. And the other one that I'm currently always playing is Reverie Shores, just because I love playing the bass lines and stuff in that. And it just feels so immensely powerful when we were playing out on tour, just as soon as it kicks in. So they're the current ones anyway.
I remember you playing that with Raging Speedhorn. I think I saw you in not Brighton, Southampton.
Southampton it was, I remember you remember talking to you afterwards, I think it was.
Yeah. That was like 2 days before I'd interviewed Dave. And we tried to make a recording. He was in a hotel room on his phone. So we tried to make it work, and he ended up pulling the interview an hour forward because you were wanting to go to the cinema. So we do try to be as adaptable as physically possible here at AVP Industries.
I think him and Tom went to see some horror film.
Yeah, I think it was a
Christmas horror film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been that.
Yeah, that's all right. I know where I stand. Me or a Christmas horror film.
That was I guess a day off then, wasn't it? If it was. Yeah. You were doing that, So it's quite nice to have a bit of a respite in between all the shows and travelling and whatnot.
No, absolutely. Cool. It's all good. Fantastic gig as well, as always. I'm always blown away to watch InME, and I'll always try and go out of my way to watch you as much as possible, providing the logistics make sense. But we're going to go to a quick break. No worries, it's all good. If you join the other meeting in a second, then we'll get started on part 2, okay?
Cool. All right, mate. See you in a sec.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Dorset, England's gateway to the sea. Legends tell of how travellers and wayfarers would navigate vast oceans to meet the natural beauty of the Jurassic coastline. As the centuries have passed, only their song remains. Absolute Bedlam are proud to be sponsored by Shanty Spirit, the taste of the Jurassic Coast.
So, we've had a bit of a technical, fucking great when it works, not great when it doesn't, continuity
I should have
thing.
learned how to use it properly before I started experimenting with things, I think.
It's all good. We're there now.
Yeah.
So, the next question is a bit of a deep one. You can answer it as honestly or as sort of surface level as you want, but it's quite a personal one in terms of being creative. So, how do you deal with / overcome writer's block in terms of anything creative that you output?
Just move on to something else. If I've got writer's block with a particular project, then I'll probably just start writing something else or going on to a different project entirely.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you feel like you've got writer's block with a particular song or piece of art, I think you've just got to... I flip between thinking that you just need to push through it and just keep working on it until it sort of comes back, and also the thinking of just leave it and come back to it at some other point. So it really depends. There's no there's no specific way that I would tackle things. There are some songs I'll just come back to, and after a certain amount of time, you can just push away with it and just crack on. And sometimes just really need to force and just keep writing. And even if everything that comes out of it is crap, you might have a couple of really cool kind of little moments of glory in there as well.
Yeah, you got to sift through it, haven't you? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And at the end of the day, just keep going. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah. Do you ever have moments where you're like in your sort of studio space and your curtains are closed and you actually realise that you haven't been outside in 48 hours and you should probably go and touch some grass?
I don't get that, no. I always try and make a point to get out and have a walk every single day. If I'm got nothing planned, it quite often ends up with a pint, but I can't get focused like that because I live in a flat and there's people everywhere sort of thing, so I would like to sit here and just do music for 2 days straight on my day off, but it just can't happen because it makes too much noise, so breaks have to happen and I can't do everything all the time as much as I want, so Yeah, I'll get out. I'll definitely make a point of getting out. And as I say, there's quite often a pint with Az and Dave at the end of it anyway. So.
Yeah. Well, that makes you a very conscientious neighbour. So well done to you for not playing synth at 4 in the morning. You know what that's like.
Try. Definitely.
So speaking of Dave, we've got a bit of a question. I'm not sure what on earth it means, but I've got to read it out. I'm contractually obliged at this point.
Okay.
SINME. CINME. What on earth is that?
Well, eventually, it should be the new podcast from Dave and I regarding movies.
Right. Love that.
Came from a drunken conversation in the pub a few weeks ago. And yeah, he's definitely a bit more of a movie buff than I am. I haven't seen a lot of stuff, and I don't enjoy as much, I think, in general, movie-wise. So we kind of think that our conflicting views about some of the things that we argue about in the pub might make for an interesting audible discussion.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what SINME is. So hopefully we'll get around to doing that at some point soon. It's been talked about for a while. We've got a big list of things to discuss. So we'll just see how it goes, really.
I had a feeling it was something to do with the cinema, but I just didn't know what. And something that I always absolutely loved, and I would pretty much stop what I was doing in terms of InME, was when they were writing albums like Daydreams Anonymous and Herald Moth, they would do something called In Media.
Yeah, I remember.
And I fucking love those videos so much. And I hate that I can't show people them now because they've been deleted. But there was one particular episode which just had me rolling on the floor, which was they'd hired a teddy bear producer, and he was hired to write Single of the Week.
Right.
And the teddy bear was like, we need to make this song catchy and commercially viable. And I was just fucking lost it, because it's obviously just Dave in the background of his little puppet. I love those things. Like I love behind the scenes stuff.
I'm hoping to get a bit more of that. Yeah, hoping to get a bit more of that going as we start kind of pushing forward with the new album a bit more as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I can figure out how to use my phone properly, then we'll get a lot more behind the scenes stuff.
You're obviously allowed to say no to this, but have you discovered / reinvented the new album name? Because at one point it was called Demons.
Why would you suspect it's not called that? I forget where we are with the naming.
Dave was saying he was a bit umming and ahhing as to if that's a real thing or not. And I think actually on stage at Takedown he said something like, we're writing our new album, but we're not really sure what to call it.
Okay, I think we do know what to call it. Whether he's having second thoughts again, I don't know. Because you think about these things and you sit with them for a long time.
Yeah.
You start to think maybe is that a good idea. I think we know what we're calling it, and I think it's a good title, and I think it will encompass sort of the career of InME, and I think it'll be great.
That's right. I will continue to be patient. That's fine. Your comment on the custard cream roulette that me and my son put up on YouTube. You put a person in there and tagged them, and I followed them. Were you impressed with the content, or was it just a bit of a weird video for me to upload, or what was your thoughts? Yeah,
it was cool, but the person I tagged, my friend Moog, you should chat to him. He's a great guy, and his band Rapscallion, and they have lots of cool different songs, and one of them will be about his liking of the older custard creams. And
love it.
Yeah, I'd have a listen. Go check out his album Maximum Splendid on Spotify. So it's great.
There you go. You will be getting invoiced for that plug. Awesome. Right, so that was just a random one that I wrote down. Another random question for you. It's got absolutely no bearing on anything, but welcome to Absolute Bedlam. Is favourite animal and favourite animal noise?
Oh, blimey, that is a left turn if I heard one. Currently, just a bit obsessed. No, my algorithm feeds on Instagram just keep showing me cats doing stupid things all the time, so I'm just going to go with cats because it's quite boring. But
that's all right.
My feed is like dominated by cats.
Yeah,
it's quite sad. And noise, did you say?
Yeah, animal noise. Yeah,
noise. That is not something that I've really thought about for quite a while.
Ever.
There was, we went to a few of my friends and I went to Amsterdam for my brother's birthday a few years ago, and we went to the zoo there, and I think they had some sort of, was it an alpaca? I can't remember. There was some sort of thing, and the noise that it was giving us was hilarious. I couldn't replicate it. Can barely even remember, but that would have been my favourite noise.
Had to be that.
But I can't remember the animal. I can't remember what it sounded like. But it made us. We were in hysterics on the floor. It was good.
Yeah, nice. So in terms of other music, obviously InME seems to be your primary sort of thing, where you're going out and playing gigs and you're actually writing music with the band and all that sort of stuff. What are your other projects that you're consciously working on? Because I know that you've done quite a lot in the past that potentially might just be sort of stacked up on a log pile. But what other things have you got going on for the rest of the year?
So I'm kind of working on a lot of different stuff still. Rise of the Ziggurat, which is my main sort of project, that sort of lo-fi, sort of acoustic, electronic, whatever I decide at the time, really. That's always ongoing, because that's just a little project for me, really. I don't expect anyone else to get much out of that. That's just my main sort of outlet, as it was. The Fall of the Ziggurat, we managed to get a song out a couple of years ago, and I've still got like an album's worth of that stuff to do. So that sort of heavy synth sort of stuff. I'd like to get that recorded at some point, but I wanted someone else to sort of record that, because they do a better job than I will. So hopefully that will see the light of day at some point. And there's another sort of secret project that I'm working on that it's secret, so that's that.
Yeah, fair enough.
And there's just other bits and pieces, really. There's always stuff to be worked on, and sometimes it doesn't fit into any of those categories, so it just gets put in a different pile. Hoping to look to something else. And I've started kind of hanging out with my old bandmates. I mean, we've always hung out, but we're starting to do a bit more music. Our old bandmates from 20 years ago, our first band, Infurion. And so we're hoping to kind of get some more music going with them, whether it comes under that name or something else. But I just want to be doing as much as possible still. As much as possible all the time, really.
Absolutely. 2 more questions and then we'll go into silly territory again. What bass do you currently have?
That is a good question. The brown one.
Brown one. 4-string brown one.
It says Ibanez Geo on it. There you go. I don't know what model number it is. I just liked it. And I do have another bass hanging up in the hallway that I like the look of better. It's like a nice cherry red SG bass. Yeah. But the headstock is like heavier than the just too heavy. It just kind of is like this.
Yeah.
So unfortunately it's not particularly comfortable, but that that one is really comfortable. Yeah, really good.
When I was in my sort of rock and roll period of my life, I love the idea of having an Epiphone Thunderbird or a Gibson Thunderbird, but just the neck dive on them is so brutal. That I just have this image of me like playing on stage like with my fucking foot on an amp like a real rock star and just twatting someone, and I just can't handle it. So I ended up just buying like Ibanez ATK, Ibanez BTB, and I kind of just stuck with those the entire time, because once you find something that works, I'm personally quite invested in the idea of just stick to it. Yeah. Because
I definitely found that with that one. Yeah. I won't get rid of the other one because it's got quite a bit of sort of not sentimental value, but it's I've had it for many years, and it was one of my other best friends before it was mine, and he used it in like a movie that he made, and it's just popped up in all these different places over the years, so it won't go anywhere unless like I don't know, unless something drastic happens. But it's still fun to mess around with, but just the headstock is way too heavy for me to consider using it live.
Yeah, absolutely. Brighton as a location for musicians, do you find that Brighton's a bit of a hotbed? And if you do, then what do you think contributes towards that? Do you think it's just the university presence?
Well, university, and you've got BIM as well, so that's the college of music or whatever. I don't know. To me, the sort of scene has felt like it's sort of changed in different ways. Some maybe positive, some maybe not as positive. There's always gigs going on. There's really good venues, and there's always musicians. That is good. It feels a bit different to the sort of days where there seem to be a lot more bands just being in bands because they wanted to be in bands, just wanted to get together with their mates, go down the pub, and thrash out some songs, and do their bit to not try and make it, but just enjoy being in a band. But it's obviously everything's a lot more sort of, I don't know, business focused now.
Yeah.
It just feels like everything's a bit industry and whatever now. It doesn't feel like, and the gigs that are just some of the gigs that is kind of just happening there's a lot more sort of cover gigs and stuff, which is fine. You know, I enjoy cover gigs and stuff as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the upside to that, I'm hoping that bands are getting paid, because obviously, you know, entertainers and performers should be getting paid for what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it just feels a bit different. But you know, we've got a lot of good venues and a lot of good bands and stuff. So overall, I think it's pretty positive.
Yeah, I feel like COVID kind of accelerated the whole we must monetize every hobby, and every facet of our existence has to be generating money, because potentially our income can fall through, or one income might not be enough. So everyone started making sourdough and crafting and creating musical hobbies and selling stuff online and all that sort of things. So yeah, there definitely seems to be more of a push towards that side of things, rather than do it because you love it.
Yeah, and you know, there's a fine kind of balance. Like, I would just play because I want to play, but you know, I could probably do that because I've got other forms of income. You know.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be thinking about getting money for, like, when I started playing bands 16, 17, going into pubs and stuff. I just wanted to go out there and just rock and just have a good time.
Yeah.
That's all that really matters to me, and that's all that matters to me now, really.
Yeah. So, silly territory again. Would you like a vent or a minor inconvenience from my side, and then I will expect a similar response from yourself?
Sorry, what?
A vent, as in I need to get something off my chest, or a minor inconvenience like a leaky tap, like what annoys you slightly but not enough to make you go absolutely mental.
Oh, that is the thinker. What about you? What would you say? What would?
So yeah, I've got a vent. I'm pretty good at venting. That's basically what this is, other than me talking to people that I like. So I went on the train last week, and there was a Southern Rail advert. And actually, I saw the same advert in video form when I watched the Mario film recently with my son and my girlfriend. So the advert, Mike, is 2 pigeons on a train.
Right.
Why? Pigeons can fucking fly. So why are they on a train promoting Southern Rail, which basically is just constant recurring, we are sorry to announce that the train is delayed. So Southern Rail isn't even a good Southern thing, or a rail thing, really. And I just love the fact that, you know, Sonic has a car.
Yeah.
Southern Rail have birds on trains, and it just doesn't make any sense. I don't think it should make sense, but that's my vent for you. So anything like that, absolutely go at it. This is your safe space.
Safe space, yeah. There's probably many things, but of course they've all left my head. Well, I mean, today say vent. I'll vent about the prices of pubs going up. Can I do that?
Yeah, of course you
I don't
can.
know if that totally fits in, but I mean, we spend a lot of time in pubs and going and socialising and hanging out and, you know, doing all that sort of thing. And they're just getting insane prices, like £6-7 a pint in some places.
Yep.
I won't necessarily be paying that, but that's just where it's going, and it's just sort of being accepted as the norm now, and I don't like that. That's
no, of course. One place that's always been really, really bad for pricing, and considering some people would rather do this than go on holiday, has been like festivals like Download and Reading and Leeds, where, you know, most places, if you want to buy a burger, you're looking at spending like 12 to 13 quid. And if you want to buy a pint in an arena, you're looking at like 9 or 10 quid. And it comes in this god-awful plastic cup, and it just doesn't taste the same. And, you know, someone can knock into you and you've spilled 5 quid. You know, there's a bit of a tragedy. I do love a good music festival, but I just noticed that is just absolutely make up a price on the spot at the moment. So
yeah, actually, that's a good point, making up price on the spot. I feel like some of the shops in this area, some of the more like independent ones, I think they started taking the prices off their shelves, so they can sort of just adjust the price to what they feel. I reckon.
Depending on if they like you or not.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Just,
you know,
mad.
They all used to have all the prices for all the things on all of the shelves, and now they've removed them all. And I think that's just so they can kind of, you know, just charge what they want, depending on how they're feeling in the day.
What a mental way to do business.
It's possible, yeah. I'm not totally sure, but that is something I've been thinking about a lot recently.
It's a theory. Speaking of theories, we've obviously spoken on Facebook a couple of times about this, but David Icke. So, one of my obsessions is the paranormal and a bit of conspiracy stuff. Not too much that this entire podcast is centered around conspiracies. But have you got any sort of thoughts on people like David Icke, or have you got any conspiracy theories of yourself, or any paranormal experiences?
I wish I had a paranormal experience. Ever since I was young and like watching Ghostbusters and stuff, I've always been obsessed with sort of paranormal conspiracies, and then it became more about sort of alternate history, different theories about what's happened to us in civilization over ancient history and stuff. With particular regard to David Icke, I got into him at a time where he was talking. I found a speech, and everything in the speech was just nice and made sense. And at the end of the day, love each other, all that sort of thing. Obviously, his trajectory has been quite different since then.
Yeah.
But I also quite liked him because at the time, someone that had gone through complete ridicule, but just like kept coming back, kept going with what he believed in, even though it, possibly. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to comment on his particular beliefs now or whatever, but just find this is what I find with some people, like anyone that can just take anything on, take any criticism or anything, and still keep going and pushing through. That's what I really quite admire, and I like that with bands as well. That's what I always admired with Metallica. Like they've been criticised pretty much every album since Ride the Lightning, and they just well, fuck off. I don't care. Putting like bad reviews on the fronts of their CDs and stuff, making a really weird avant-garde album with Lou Reed just because they can.
Fair enough.
This kind of stuff, and just do what you want. That's what I sort of like. Going back to conspiracies and things. I enjoyed it at a time when it was sort of fun. Conspiracies were all sort of fun, and you didn't quite know, and X-Files and all this sort of thing. And then with the rise of the internet, everything's just blown a bit out of proportion now. It's very hard to. I don't even know how to sum it up, to be honest. Like, you can find information on anything, and you can get some things that are obviously complete nonsense, but people are still believing them anyway. I don't know. It's mental, but I liked it kind of back in the day, just like watching X-Files and all those sort of fun sort of monsters and things like that. I think the world is now becoming such a scary place that I prefer just to try and ignore as much as possible at the moment.
No, I get that. Do your own research, but research isn't always Google 4 words and pick the top link. It actually can be. Can be actually going to a library and reading a book and actually citing sources and all that sort of stuff. But the internet seems to just whatever's quick, whatever's easy, whatever's convenient. But awesome.
Quite a lot of people will only look for the views that they want to just reinforce the views they already have anyway.
Yeah, completely. Got 2 more questions. We've got about 9 minutes left, so I'll make this quick. Okay. What would you tell yourself if this podcast was a time machine in 5 years from now? Is there a single sentence that you can think of that you want to sort of look back on in the future?
Single sentence. I would say keep going. I don't know. I quite like the trajectory that things are on at the moment. I'd like to try and do more for other people. But personally, then, as long as I'm kind of keep making music and keep, doing what I sort of love and stuff, then I don't think there'd be much more to tell myself. I don't think.
Yeah. More of the same. Very good.
More of the same. Yeah. I mean, if you can get to do, it's always like getting out to do more things, get out and travel more and stuff. But I've been in quite a bad financial situation for a long time, so that's all sort of been on the back burner. But now I'm trying to sort things out in those sorts of senses as well. So hopefully I can do a bit more traveling and things.
Well, on behalf of
convoluted answers.
Nah, it's all good, man. It's all good. On behalf of everything in me, I want to just quickly say thank you for the music and thank you for the memories, because I've seen InME, I reckon, about 12 times. I've seen Dave a couple of times. He played one of my friend's weddings, right? And
Amazing.
My friend decided to keep that a secret from me for an entire year. So I walked into the hotel lobby and saw Dave McPherson with an acoustic guitar on his back, and it was like the scene from Terminator 2, where I just fucking hit the floor, because to me, he is like one of the hardest working musicians I've ever met in my entire life, and this was just as he was dropping Sentiment stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I thought, fuck me, man, like, he, you know, lives in Essex or similar area than that, and he's popped down to Dorchester, which is about 10 minutes away from where I live, to come and play this wedding. And I just thought, fucking hell, like, he's just so on it. Like, he's always thinking, you know, what's next, and when can we rehearse next, and when can we write music, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, going back to sort of InME, my favourite band, basically. So thank you for the music, and I hope to see you guys soon again. And yeah, thank you. It's important to recognise that.
Our pleasure. More than
There we
welcome.
go.
Glad to be in a position that I can come and play music and, you know, be part of that. It's great.
Yeah. So that kind of leads nicely into the final question, then I'm going to leave you to it, is how do you want to be remembered?
Depends who I'm being remembered by, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. It'd be nice to do something that changes people's lives for the better. It'd be nice to do something that improves people's lives. So if it's something like that, then it'd be nice. But, you know, you don't have to be remembered for that. You're just doing it because it's a good thing to do, the right thing to do. But obviously, if I could write a hit single that made me millions and millions of pounds, then that'd be great as well. Nice.
Yeah, there we go. If you want to check out Mike's socials, obviously Mike can amend this if he wants to, but I'm right in thinking that it's riseoftheziggurat.co.uk. That seems to send people to your link tree, doesn't it, of everything that you've got going on.
Got a lot of links on, yeah. You can just kind of put everything in there and just, discover whatever from there, really.
And if you want to help get Mike out of his overdraft, which I'm assuming completely, he's got a Ko-fi at the bottom. So donate to him and send him some love and tell him I sent you if you fancy it. And I'll ask for 10%. So everyone wins. Hey! Right, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, dude, and I appreciate that it's not been the easiest conversation in terms of technical difficulty, but I appreciate you sticking with it. And hopefully see you at some point later on down the line.
Yeah, hopefully see you on the road at some point. It'd be great.
Nice one. Cheers, dude.
Awesome,
I'll speak to you soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Absolute Bedlam.
Hey guys, it's Jon here from Absolute Bedlam. We just wanted to take a moment to introduce you to our brand new Patreon. If you head over to Patreon now, you can get access to behind the scenes footage, ad-free content and episodes. You can even send your own requests in terms of the content you would like to see us create. All of this is available to you and more. We've got free options available to you as a patron with us. If you just want to support what we do and help build the Absolute Bedlam experience, a small fee of £1 a month, you can do just that. If you want to get access to that ad-free content, those ad-free episodes, for £5 a month, you can join the Hive. And if you want all of that and more behind the scenes footage, commission works with us, live Q&A sessions, for £10 a month, all of the madness, all of the chaos of Absolute Bedlam will be yours. So head over to Patreon now, become a patron, and join the Hive.
Absolute Bedlam podcast. Who? What? Where? Why?